Imagine a world where you had a loan, a student loan. And with that student loan, you normally had to make $5, $6, $1,000 a month payments. But that student loan payment was paused indefinitely, forever. A forever student loan pause. You still technically owed the debt. The debt never accrued any interest. And hey, you just never had to make any payments of the debt. So you lived your entire life not worrying about that debt. Is a forever student loan pause something that's actually possible? Let's go ahead and talk about it. We're going to talk about the pros and cons. We're going to talk about what's going on in the Biden administration. And before we get started, the administrative staff who supports President Biden needs to do better. I am tired of seeing this guy fall. He should not be falling up steps. He should not be falling off of bikes. I don't care. Give him a bike, put training wheels on it. Someone should always be beside him. I'm tired of this dude falling. Can we please keep our president upright? I'm tired of him falling. Let's talk about the possibility of a forever student loan pause and what I think is going to happen with the student loan forbearance and interest rate freeze extension. Is it going to go longer? Is it going to be indefinite? Let's chop it up. I'm Marcus, you're at the channel, The Debt Free Dad, where we're talking and rapping about finances as my family is on the road to become first generation millionaires. And, we just keeping y'all abreast, letting y'all know what's going on in the household of the Debt Free Dad. Right now, we are currently on the process of paying our student loans. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I guess to start off is I'm probably not going to be submitting payments on my student loans for the next few months. Now, the reason being is that I'm just kind of in the accumulation stage. And this is weird. Even if you have an emergency fund, when the economy starts to get a little crazy, I still want to go through this period of, let me just grab a little bit of extra cash on hand. So since I'm not required to make a payment, I'm just going to stack up my cash for a little bit. Now, that cash may ultimately go back to the student loan and get put on the student loan. It may not, but I think that's going to be my game plan moving forward. I may actually pay something on the student loan, but it'll definitely probably be less than the $3,300, $3,500 that we were paying a month, because I just like the accumulation stage, considering as inflation is kicking in, everything is going a little haywire with gas and food prices rising and getting completely ridiculous. So I'm in that accumulation stage. Now, I recently saw an article that came out a week and a half ago where the Secretary of Education was addressing Congress, and he talked about the strong likelihood that the student loan payment pause, the interest rate freeze, is going to get extended. The reason for the extension was because of the pandemic. Everybody thought things were getting better. Lo and behold, when things started getting a little better with pandemic and travel restrictions, what happened? Inflation came out and just jumped on everybody like a beast. The price of fuel, food, everything is going through the roof. The price of rent is going through the roof. So if student loan repayments were to restart, there'll be a lot of people who are at a detriment, because right now they probably have more money going out than they did back in 2020 just because of inflation. So because of that, the Secretary of Education is thinking that there's a strong likelihood that a student loan payment pause extension is going to continue. The other thing that was noted in the article is that, it wouldn't make sense for people to start repaying their student loans just so Biden could potentially come out and express or talk about or authorize some type of cancellation of debt, whether it's $10,000, $5,000, $1, which could be realistic with this guy, but that's a whole nother story. But it just wouldn't make any sense. The last update that I had was this past Monday. President Biden said that he's on the verge of announcing something with student loan cancellation, and it should be done shortly. Everyone will know well in advance before payments are set to resume. Now, let's talk about it. Is there a possibility for a forever student loan payment pause? I actually did some open source research, and I found an article where a lot of proponents are saying that is a possibility that President Biden could just extend the payment pause throughout the tenure of his presidency. And the only thing that could potentially force him to restart those payments is a potential litigation, where companies are starting to say, wait a minute, y'all slowing up our profits. Or if the opposing party does something congressionally that can limit via law the ability for federal student loan to be paused for a certain period of time. So those were some of the things that's on the table. As far as I'm concerned, I just don't think that a forever student loan pause is something that is realistic. Would it be dope? Could it be dope? Yeah. The problem with that is you're always going to have this underlying fear of, damn, I hope this student loan payment don't restart back up when I'm 60, 5 years away from retirement, and whoever the president is wants to restart the student loan payments. That would be a complete and utter disaster. That's point number one. So if you have this indefinite pause, there's always a possibility it could crank back up at the absolute worst time for you to have all of this additional debt triggered, and you have to be obligated to repay it. That's point number one. Point number two, it could be problematic just for the simple standpoint of there are a lot of companies who are losing money. There are hundreds of companies out there who make their money collecting student loan interest. That's how they pay their employees. Just imagine if the federal government did something that damaged your ability to make income. Mortgage rental moratorium that happened. I mean, that has a lot of legal challenges in and of itself. So it could be problematic from a litigation standpoint because these companies could also bring litigation to challenge the government's ability to have this forbearance in place indefinitely, which really is causing them to lose profits. So it's going to be interesting. Me personally, if I had to take a stab in the dark, I think that the student loan forbearance is probably going to last all the way throughout President Biden's presidential term now, or at least into the 2024 election. I just think the midterm elections put too much stress and pressure on the Democrats to actually restart the student loan payments. And if they restart student loan payments after the midterm elections, now they're putting themselves at a strong risk, a strong possibility of getting stomped in the head on the presidential election, because there are 30-something million people who are on the hook for federal student loans. We're not even talking about private student loans. And that's just a base that you don't want to have to force them to restart paying probably sooner than you would want to. So if it were me, I would just kick the proverbial can down the road, be like, you know what? As long as I'm in office, nobody paying no student loan payments and there's no interest. And let the next man go ahead and restart that payment so they can take the heat for that, because I personally wouldn't want it on me. Y'all let me know what y'all think. How long do you think the student loan forbearance is going to end? You think it's going to end after the midterms? You think it's going to go all the way to the 2024 election? And what do you take on forever student loan payment pause, just an indefinite payment pause? I think that's honestly just kind of crazy. I'll put a link to the article in the description box. As always, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all take care. Love y'all. Peace.